APIs can be unpredictable. You need to really understand that you're at the mercy of someone else when it comes to building and working with APIs. So be patient and plan for extra time. Hey, so I'm Steve McDougall. I'm a developer relations engineer at DevRel, and we build an analytics engine for your API. Knowing what's going on in your API is hard. There's so much information around what's happening in my infrastructure. We've got logs for this and logs for that. What's going on the front end of your application. We've got Google Analytics, we've got Hotjar, we've got anything that can record anything going on the front end, so you know who's clicking what and when. But your API and your back end is always, it's like the black box of an airplane. You don't know what's happened until there's a crash and you've got to try and retrieve it. And what we do at DevRel is we give you an insight into that straight away. Okay, so as a junior engineer, understanding what an API is quite important because you're going to work with them a lot. And it's hard to understand what an API actually is until you start using them, because you hear the term thrown around all the time, but you always question, okay, so what's an API? Because then you ask the senior developers and they say, oh, everything's got an API. You ask the less experienced but mid-level developers and they say, oh, it's a way to talk to another server. And you ask your friends and they're like, I've got no idea. So the easiest way to explain an API to someone who doesn't know is that it's a way to give you control of something that you don't directly have access to. So imagine your Xbox at home and you've got your Xbox controller. You don't want to use a wire because you might want to sit the other side of the room, you might want to sit in comfort, but you still need to be able to talk to your Xbox. So the controller will speak to your Xbox to allow you to move your player to the left, to get into a car, to do something. And your controller is using an API to talk to your Xbox to allow you to do that. That's the easiest way to understand an API, is to think it's allowing me to perform an action, to do something without directly having to do it myself. As a designer, how important is an API to you? Not as important as maybe a developer, but you've still got to think about what is an API and how is it going to influence my application and my design? Because you're going to have data that you have and you can have readily available. And then there's data coming from APIs that you may not have, and it may take a second, it may take a few seconds for it to come in, and it's going to affect your design. Is it going to make your design suddenly go from nice, slow flow to jolting with data coming in? So as a designer, it's quite important to understand that APIs are there, they're used heavily, and how is that going to affect your decisions as you're building that? Yeah, as a product manager, I suppose you're very used to organizing tasks from here to there. This person's doing this other person is doing that, and you're sat back, you're more orchestrating all of the pieces coming together. You can see the full jigsaw. And APIs are important because they're unpredictable. A lot of the time, as a product manager, you think it's going to take 1 day, 3 hours, X amount of story points to achieve this. But the unpredictability of APIs, the stability of those APIs, always comes into play, because sometimes that API may be under a heavy load. You may be trying to build something and you hit a rate limit, which means that you can't send more requests. So you can't test more, you can't finish your development flow because you've got to wait an hour for your rate limiting to be reset. And product managers don't see that. They don't see the day-to-day. So understanding what an API is and how it influences timescales is hugely important for product managers.
Thanks for watching the video. If you want to learn more, click on one of these. Yeah, here we go. You clicked, right? Okay.